Welcome to a new spirit that will warm your heart. Welcome to a new spirit. Every day's a brand new start. Where encouraging words can heal your soul and dreams will be renewed. Welcome to a new spirit, a new spirit in you.
Ears, eyes, nose. Can you touch your goals? Engage your senses. Welcome to the New Spirit Radio Show by the Society of Novus Spiritus, founded by world-renowned spiritual teacher Sylvia Browne. Today's date, I hope we all agree, one of the two, is January 11th of 2023. I sure hope I've been right in 23 lately. Coming to you live from California, both NorCal and SoCal. We are dry at this time. Are your hosts, Reverend Tom Bigley and MIT Catherine Taylor, playing audio segments we call Messages from Spirit. Why? Answering the ultimate question, why are we here and what is our purpose?
These segments are recorded trance sessions from Francine, Sylvia's spirit guide. So for new people, Sylvia was a full trance medium, which means Sylvia contracted to let her and Francine's essences exchange places in Sylvia's body. And we think of our bodies being similar to a car, where one driver gets out and another driver gets in. This allowed Francine to share spiritual knowledge with us directly from the other side. And my kitty Floofy is saying hello to us as well.
So on occasion, another master teacher and healer, a guide named Raheim, would exchange with Sylvia and present us with spiritual information as well. Francine and Raheim shared directly from sources like the Akashic Records, Mother and Father God, our spirit guides, Christ, and many others.
And meanwhile, during trance, Sylvia would sit on a nice bench in a rose garden on the other side.
And here are our hosts, MIT Catherine Taylor and Reverend Tom Bigley.
Hi!
Hey, we're here.
We're here. Are you dry enough? Finally?
Well,
Maybe a little bit?
inside, yes. Outside, it's still pretty damp outside where I am.
Oh, wow.
I've seen news clips of like floods and cars being washed down the street. Well, that's not near me.
No.
That's up near Sacramento, in a couple of places, and I think down by Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo. So not near me. So we're
I'm
doing
glad.
okay. What about your neighborhood?
Glad you're okay. I keep getting like alerts for flash flooding, but I think that's up in the mountains, and so my area is thankfully all fine. Everything is good in my neighborhood of Western Los Angeles area. So
all right. Yeah, I know it's fun. I'm entertained during the rains to go out to the drainage canals and watch how high they get.
Ooh, yeah.
Knowing, 9 months out of the year, how low they are, a little trickle or just flat dry. And in these horrendous rainy seasons, they get right up to the top. And you're like, oh, that's a lot of water.
It is a lot of water.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I just hope that everyone stays safe, and if you see flooding on a road, you never ever drive through the water ever.
Right.
That's like the number one rule, is you never drive through an area that you can't actually see. So
because you don't know where the bottom is. You don't know how
you don't know where the
bottom,
or if the whole place has been
washed out.
out.
Yep. Well, let's see. We've got that established. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year to everybody!
Yes.
This is our first show episode for this year, and last week, yes, we were having we weren't thunderstormy. It was just pouring out here, and we had communication problems in our area. So I thought, hey, we may end up with power problems and communication and internet and all that. And I thought, hey, let's just not be concerned about it. So I didn't, I said, let's not do a show last week. We're in better shape this week, even though many people have gotten more, what's the word? Saturated. That's the word I wanted. They're more saturated than we were before. A quick agenda for those of you that are new. We like to here's our typical agenda. We love to start out with how did you use Novus philosophy? So for everyone listening in, regardless of when you're listening in, well, at least for live people, start writing in how did you use Novus philosophy, because it's always fun to share with everyone. What's been going on? How's it help? How's the philosophy helped with you, for you, something like that. Then we go on to announcements, and then we talk about special prayers, have a moment of silence. Let's see. Then we get into the trance segments. We have a meditation for those that want to participate and learn how to quiet their minds. I'm going to talk about some closing notes. We have a special prayer ceremony called a novena later, a little bit later. And then I talk about appreciation, and we conclude with a prayer by Sylvia. So the next step, I got a new candle. Well, sorry.
Ooh.
I made sure I had enough candle, and I shouldn't say new because I did a Sunday service post recently and made sure I had new candles. So candles lit.
Wonderful.
And it should stay lit this time. Let's see. So, our fun starting segment. How did you use Novus philosophy? So, do you want to go? Do you want to point a finger at me? Do you want to do rock, scissors, paper?
I would love to hear what you used
All right.
over the past.
Let me find my. Where are my notes? Let's see. So I'm still working on that cart in front of the horse thing that I've been discussing, and the challenge is the again as the insult. And I attended an interesting seminar today, talking about how you move. What is it? How do you change habits? How do you motivate? How do you move yourself forward? And this was from a gentleman that's like an executive coach to help people, move, advance, and keep moving and keep productive. And one of the interesting points he made was, many people will say, what's the word? Darn it, with motivational speakers. Thank you. Many motivational speakers will say, hey, I've got the one thing that you need to know about and how to make yourself move forward. And of course, they get you all excited. Many of them just get you excited in the moment and you go, oh, I can do that. Well, 2 days later, where are you? A week later, where are you? And the fun point this gentleman was making today is it's really hard. To make those changes, and the older the earlier in life those habits were created, the more challenging it seems those are to change. And but he says, he does give encouragement about how the more you keep following through, there is no definite recipe of exactly when it's going to change, but day 2, you might be yelling and screaming. Well, day 3, remind yourself, day 3 and day 4, eventually it's going to change. Something will adjust. And it might be day 30, it might be day 35 or 40 or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, okay. Some of the things that I'm thinking about were like from way long time ago, so I wasn't exactly encouraged at the moment about, okay, jumping over or jumping, it's yes, it was about habits, and how do you change a habit? You don't. You have to replace it. But
to replace it, right?
The interesting point this gentleman made was the old habit doesn't go away. It's still there. You just are choosing to take a different path and make with a different habit. So And that's where an interesting discussion of addictions. Thank you. Addictions fall into place because he was talking about studying neuroscience and so on, and bringing up the point about addiction support groups, and what they talk, how they talk about addictions. Addictions don't go away. You just have to reroute, make a different choice, and create a different path, kind of thing. So
choose a healthier addiction.
Yeah, well, yeah, something of that.
Something like that.
But it was an interesting points that he brought up. So it's giving me some different thoughts and ideas on, okay, how do I make the adjustments for what the things that I see, the patterns I see that I'd like to make changes for. So
that's tremendous.
So how does that fit in our philosophy? Well, thoughts are things, and diving in, digging in, researching. It's most of, back to Francine. 11% of what we are is programming. Is genetics, and the other 89% is programming. So that's the idea behind it. The challenge is a lot of it is it's changing that programming. And I've been thinking of some of the fun tools that we do have on working towards making those changes. And you spoke about recently the just to give you an idea of things that are challenging to me is you mentioned having your vision board done.
Yes.
Or in the process.
In the process.
And I thought, oh, that's a great thing. I haven't started one. Haven't thought about it. It's like my mind is just avoiding these kind of things. So that's part of the challenge that I'm dealing with. And so yeah, one step at a time.
Very cool. Very cool. So I think that's definitely going to be on my mind for this year is changing ingrained habits that are no longer of service. So that's a big goal for this year is I've got a few ingrained habits that I'm going to work on tackling. So they're not of service. They're not of service. Cool. So I love everything that you just said. So I'm going to switch things up a little bit and say what some of our listeners are posting before I share what I used of Novus philosophy over the last couple of weeks. So Naomi shares, on Mother Asna's feast day, I made a lengthy petition and asked for flowers as a sign, and she heard me and is working on it. 2 weeks, I received 2 fruit flower bouquets for my family Christmas party. Wow. That's really sweet. Cool. That's really, really sweet. I love it. Gibson shares, I had surgery on my arm and used the healing method of rubbing my hands together to help it heal without issue.
Nice.
Very cool. Michelle shares, I started Tesla's formula for success, the 369. Create 3 affirmations, say it 6 times a day, and make sure it's 9 seconds long. That's Tesla's way to reaffirm new goals. That's a nice structure. I haven't heard that before. As a reminder for making affirmations, so what Raheim shared about affirmations, in order to make them psychologically sink into our brains, make sure that the affirmation is specific and descriptive. So it's not enough to say, I am well. It's a nice gesture. Who doesn't want to be well? Yeah. I am at peace. That's a nice, who doesn't want to be at peace, but it doesn't sink. So you have to describe it. You have to describe it in order for it to really, really sink in. Say, my heart functions beautifully and perfectly at all times and is perfectly in rhythm. If that's if that's what you're going for a new program. You have to really, really, really be specific. And then on the flip side, you can also use affirmations in the negative, which also has a very, very sharp sink into the psyche as well. So, for instance, you say, "I am not a jerk." Like that has vehemence to it. "I am not a doormat." It has vehement. Like so if you're not sure where to go with affirmations, but you're kind of curious about trying them out, go ahead and try the like de-affirmation side of saying, "I am not this, I am not this, and I certainly am not this." Amen, girlfriend.
Well, it was more of, I have an interjection.
Oh,
Not
yes,
objection,
please.
interjection.
Interjection, yes.
If you, yeah, it sounds like if you can't, get the right words to it, that's fine. I mean, God knows what our intent is. However, right along those lines, in one of Sylvia's books, she talks about, and matter of fact, I just either will hear it or heard it from one of either Raheim or Francine. To identify what you are, start by making a list of what you are not.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. Yes.
Yeah. So that'll
you are not.
So the affirmations, if you want, start that way.
Yeah. I think it's a lot easier for me to connect with my emotions when I start with the like negative of like what I am not. Sometimes I'm like not feeling that great, but I'm trying. I know that I'm feeling something. I'm just not sure what. And so it's easier for me as a woman who has harder time like accessing my anger sometimes to say, "I am not this. I am not this, and I certainly am not this."
Yeah.
It just like helps everything start to flow. And so
Right.
I find that to be a particularly useful tool for myself. So very cool, Michelle, on the affirmations. A few others. George shares, "I say the mantra, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. I say this mantra over and over." That's lovely. That's very, very, very true. Craig shares, "I've been seeing 5:55 on the clock lately, and I am currently in the process of changing careers. Life changes." Interesting. All right.
Well, what does 5:15 represent to you?
5:55. Yeah, sure.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
555.
Oh, okay, great. Trinity.
Fives are like it's like a Trinity 5. So yeah, be interested to hear what you have to say about that, Craig, if you wanted to share a little bit more. Anthony shares, "I smell roses as visions of colors and different smells, different color roses, red, yellow, and white." That sounds like he's having a synesthesia experience. That's very, very cool. And everybody can practice this, and it is helpful. It's a helpful skill to practice, to say, like, all right, what does this smell remind me of? Or what does this art piece remind me of? Or what does this person remind me of? And that's the start of synesthesia, and that's the start of being able to access psychic intuition, because it's all about saying, like, what does this person remind me of? This person gives me a bad vibe. Why? Well, like, what kind of bad vibe? So very, very cool. And Craig shared about the 5:55. "I think it means changes in life, big ones." And so that's what he's working on. Many blessings on your journey. I hope that it's really exciting. For myself, what did I use of Novus philosophy over the last couple of weeks? I had a couple of interesting things pop up. One of them was, I've had a couple of folks in my life that I have really had some moments of wondering, like, oh boy, am I about to say the right thing, and just hoping for the best. And I always and I just reverted back to what we'd been told of saying, like, just like say a prayer to God, help me to find the right words, and just trust what comes out. And so I gave so I had a couple of conversations that I was having trepidation about, but I trusted it, and I kind of offered some some feedback in a way that I have been practicing in my head so that I don't come off in a bad way, and I'm not getting mad, but I'm thinking it was really, really trying to like round off the edges.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I personally do have to work on, because my totem animal is the panther, and Francine says the panthers are notorious for biting people's heads off, and so I was like, I'm really trying to round out that personality trait.
I understand the concept. Yeah,
sure.
How to say it in a nice,
Yeah.
be a friend versus
to really be a friend and to be heartfelt and try to help guide. And so I was really, really happy with how those conversations went, and that I because this has been like an important priority for me for the past year, to get better at having some of these conversations and to say them in a genuinely loving and caring way, and to help, like, just to hope that the words are going to come out in a way. And so and they ended up really strengthening the relationship as a result, and I was just incredibly thankful and happy, and to say, like, we can be able to talk about each other's points of growth together, and I appreciate and love your journeys so much, and thank you for being able to be this open with me. And so I really came at it from a place of gratitude, and it's very, very different than from kind of where my approach might have come for some of these tough conversations a couple of years ago. So I really am pleased that I was able to like synthesize what Raheim taught last year on this particular topic. So yeah, I'm happy.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Any more comments or notes or?
Yes. Naomi says, smelling an orange, and there isn't an orange in the room. I'm trying to remember what that means. Is that an angel or a good spirit visitation? Maybe a relative or spirit guide? It could be any of those, I think, from what we've been told. Yeah. I know if we smell sandalwood, might be Raheim, and if we smell jasmine, that might be Francine. And I forget what was Sylvia's. Was she lilac? Lilac?
No, I don't remember.
I can't remember. Mother God was lilac. I can't remember.
The thing that would come to mind is Sylvia's favorite rose.
Oh, her rose.
I don't know if that particular rose has a distinct aroma or not. Versus I know roses have their unique aromas with the different types of roses, but I'm not sure if the I've already forgotten the name of it again. But it is a light purple rose that has a specific name for it. Anyway, it might pop in the head.
Be curious
later.
to know. Naomi clarifies, lilac smell was her grandmother, and was her grandmother's favorite perfume. Very cool. And then one last comment from Miss LJ. Let's see you. I've definitely meditated each day, and I've been trying to have at least 2 per day so I may find my creativity more and calm my anxiety. That's beautiful. I'm so happy for you. And I wish you all the success in the world for getting that anxiety out of here. Kick to the curb.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Cool.
What do we normally like to? Let's see. Announcements. Let me see if I got any of those. Yes, please. Share, promote, like, subscribe, click on the bell so you're notified when we get started. We just happen to be running just a pinch late this evening. However, besides the fact on YouTube, we can't tell you if we're not going to be on. We can only tell you that we're here now. That's all we can do at this time. So the more subscribers, yes, there are more and more, and appreciate everybody jumping in and clicking. As far as and Facebook, share, promote, like. That gets us out there as well for showing other people that we're here, and to take a look. There's a lot of part of the fun discussion we had this afternoon in the webinar was look how our society is generating more and more anxiety with people, and right along the lines is, what is it? Anxiety, and which causes ailments over time. You hang on to anxieties too long, it can affect your health. So anyway, help other people out as well that you think might appreciate what we're offering here. And we said Happy New Year, and let's see, yes, I think that was all I got for notes.
All right, cool.
Let's see. Oh, special prayers. Let's see. What we encourage is if you've got a special need, or someone that has needs some special help, whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual, visualize what the outcome is you think that they could appreciate or would help them. Always ask for the greater good. If you've got a special prayer you'd like to put in, that hey, we're going to put whoever has put in things on our prayer chain on the website, we always include that as well whenever we have a moment of silence and help others as best we can. So let's take a moment. Let's put out our energy. We're going to ask Mother God, the archetypes, archangels, to get out there and say, do something. Well, I'm just kidding. But we are asking them to put out and help those that we have we see a particular need for. So let's take a moment of silence and Amen.
Amen.
And of course, be the prayer. If you see a need, fill it. Let's see. We've done good on that. If you are streaming challenged, there are some people actually listening in on our conference call. If you're streaming challenged while we are live, by all means, jump in on our conference call, and you can listen to the audio portion of this. And that number is 888-534-2696. So while we're live, that's available for people that would like to listen. Let's see. We do encourage you to keep muted. That helps others have a good session, a fun session, and can hear properly. Let's see. Okay, next is trance segments.
Ooh, exciting. Okay, so we have, for our first segment, Raheim is going to conclude here, talking about some health considerations. So chromium is a dangerous metal. CoQ10 can be supportive for vascular system. He's going to talk about some facts about dentistry, about how dentistry has gotten a little bit out of control, including that plaque can actually be protective. All right. Having unethical guidance as a child can set a soul back 10 to 20 years. And then he's going to describe a ceremony that the council uses for Mother God.
Nice. All right. Take notes, and here we go.
Yes. If you use warm salt water to douse your eyes in, you won't have so much trouble. Yes.
What about nodulon, that antioxidant from Europe?
No.
Gee, I'm on it.
Stay on it. You can boil dirt. It'll do just as good.
Well, it gave me the incentive to get off of all of my desires.
I don't care what it was. Your will did it.
I will did it.
So whatever you use, I don't care if you want to go chew on that, and believe that that's true, that's fine.
It's what you believe, isn't it?
In medicine, they found that people do sometimes, the greatest majority of people will do just as well on a placebo as they do on the actual medication.
That's God's truth.
Yes.
Getting back to the chromium picolinate, they said that it helps the body absorb minerals better. That's what it's supposed to be for.
Chromium is a really bad metal. Think about it. Chromium
Yeah.
is a bad metal. Too much chromium stores in the liver. And that's not good for you. If you eat healthy and you take regular nutritional food and you eat good and have supplements like I've told you about, taking enough lecithin if you feel like you need to be lubricated, vitamin E if you have female organs, and zinc for men for prostate, and some of those things that aid and help you. But don't get caught up in all this 40 and 60 and 80 vitamins. It's not good for you.
Raheim, if you take a child that is not raised, as you were saying, with the disciplinary at home, because it seems that there's lacking of that so much today, and in dealing with these children, of course, at the moment in time, you instill that behavior that they must toe the line, and you show them what you expect, and they acquiesce. Does that child have a chance, because it's not been reared that way, do they have a chance to grow up and understand that the more honorable way to live, or is that pretty much not going to happen if they don't have the sturdy beginnings at home?
No matter how honorable the soul is, no matter how great and graceful a soul is, it's crippled if it doesn't have that. You see, you say, we know that everything is free will choice, but we also know that we're given charges in life, and these charges are our children, our younger people. And if they're not instilled with that, they have a much harder road. In other words, they can diminish their acceleration time of their perfection by 10 or 20 years if they have this kind of guidance of respect and caring.
So it needs to start, trying to stay that way.
Yes.
You talked about the elders and how they have the knowledge. I know as far back as I can remember, most of the guidelines I think I use are my grandmother's. And I was real clear to make sure my mother kind of followed through with my children. And I can still remember my mother even telling me when I was worried about my children, she'd say, well, she used the word sin. Well, the sin is yours, not theirs, because you know better, they don't. I'm like, oh gosh, she had to tell me that. But, I do that now with my grandchildren. That's my role.
See, and that's why the heritage should be that should be passed down.
Yeah.
Because years ago, not too many years ago, parents were around, grandparents, great-grandparents were there for wisdom. Then all of a sudden we began to get rid of all the older people and put them away so that the younger people could not enjoy the older people and could not get the wisdom of. See, the tragedy is, no matter what you feel today, someday you will become the older person. And someone very well could then put you away. Because supposedly, because you would just sit into wisdom, you would be useless. And wisdom is never useless. Yes.
I heard that the CoQ10 is good for the gum, isn't it true?
CoQ10 is good for the vascular system.
It will heal the periodontal?
Well, you'd have to take some. No, I would say it does more for the vasculars. And if you want to say the circulatory system, then that's another thing that's getting totally out of hand in your dentistry. Everybody's supposed to have terrible periodontal, horrible gums, and they want to do the cut-up cleaning.
Yeah.
Very strange. Very strange. We don't understand that. I think it's a new fad. What's the worst thing that can happen? You have false teeth and then you won't have any cavities anymore. Then you put the dentist out of business, wouldn't you?
They said that there will be deposits that will be accumulated.
There always has been. Has to be. For your gums to sustain themselves. Do you realize why your teeth form plaque? To protect it. It's like barnacles of a ship. Yes.
We were talking about children, and one of the things that I have noticed in working with little people is that we're institutionalizing them like we do older people. And being that I was a warrior child at one time, there's nothing worse than
to be institutionalized.
Yes. And so if you take these little kids from 7:30 to 6 p.m. and you keep them in one room, and I've seen this, and then you take them home, the thing is, I think it's because for a while it was this idea of, well, I have to have children now. These little dolls that I dress up on the weekend, don't have them if you have to put them in an institution.
That's right.
Because
That's
it's very
right.
hard to watch these little
Well, you
kids.
can't even do that to a monkey or an animal, because if you do that to an animal, it becomes antisocial.
So then what happens is that the kids are reacting to the parents because they're being institutionalized.
Oh, sure. They're furious with it.
Yeah.
Furious, because the soul in there is rebellious. Yes, David.
I have recall of some kind of ceremony that I think happened on the other side last week. Can you tell me what that was, and who were the people in the purple shirts?
The only ceremony that I know with the purple shirts was the council. I wasn't privy to this, not because I didn't go, it's just because I didn't find it to be interesting. Apparently you did. The ceremony was that they, every once in a while, they come together almost like a round table, like you think of King Arthur. They put on very beautiful purple shirts, robes, and they really give homage to the Mother God. This does not happen very often, by the way. Not that I think giving homage to Asna is ever boring, because we have what we call our trellis of flowers that we do. But the council has another ritual. We're much more emotional than council is. Council does the swords and almost, like I said, the round table. So that's probably what you tuned into. Yes.
When the caves are found, they go into the caves and they pull out what they find. How long will it take before that is deciphered?
Well, we'll give it to you before they get it. It'll take them 10 years. You can get it in a matter of weeks. Yes.
Larry and I had a lot of support while we were out from your side. Would you express our thanks?
Yes. I have to say that a lot of the weather was
miraculous.
As it's doing.
Yay!
All right. Well, God bless you, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Raheim. It's been a pleasure.
So that was the last tail end of a trance session. So we're gonna go on to a new one here after our comments. The next one will be a new trance session. What are your two bits?
I thought it was fascinating. How he provided that observation about children being set back if they don't have some source of ethical guidance, and I think that definitely reflects. I don't know. I want more time to reflect on that. We definitely see that in the therapy world. If that a person can be a very, very, very good person, but be very set back and harmed if they are not, if they don't have somebody that genuinely loves them and can,
right,
guide through it.
What is
people can be incredibly harmed. So,
what is their learned perspective of themselves when they're little? That's
true
of the programming. I've forgotten her name again. One of the ladies on Shark Tank, who started out in real estate. She was on somebody's podcast recently. In one of her comments, I recall, was saying that, when it comes to someone that's she wants to work with, because she works with investors now, from Shark Tank, and she says the people she really likes the best or knows that's going to do better are poor people, people that grew up poor, but are motivated to move, versus somebody that was given money or grew up privileged and was just given money. They don't have the hunger. They don't have the, they didn't grow up with the, I got to do, I have to achieve, I have to be creative, I have to, in many cases. And I thought it interesting because the way I understood it is that's the core of your, what you started out learning. Did you start out to be things going to be provided to you, or did you start out by realizing, oh, I have to work for things? And that's one of the things that I'm challenged with is, challenged with motivation. You think, oh, I'm all excited here, but when it comes to continued motivation, continued moving forward, taking those next steps, it's like, oh my God, I'm challenged with it. And
Barbara Cochran?
yes, thank you.
Cool.
And it falls, to me, this is very similar, it correlates to this, is the, you teach a kid, you teach a child, self-motivation, positive outlook, even though it's just like us motivating ourselves and having that, being the, having the intellect to say, oh, things are okay, we can keep moving, here's some ideas, here we can keep, helping motivate, keeping them moving forward. The earlier you start with that with children, they become self-motivating, but also, self-propelling, maybe that's the word. That's sort of the concept that I've been thinking about, and I'm like, oh man, it's just those are sort of the ideas and things that I'm dealing with and working with and looking at a solution for. And what does Novus have for tools? And we've got several different tools that we use, that I've used, and but it's still challenging, and it's encouraging but discouraging to see all these, learning what we know about psychology and advancement.
I'm also thinking of applying this to just one other group of people, just to allow for the point to be there. So if a child has been brought up in a culture that is very accepting of the child, but very expectant of violence. So that could be a very honorable soul has ended up in a gang situation,
right,
or in a terrorist situation. And so everyone socially around them might be having this expectation, like, you are supposed to be, supposed to meet your problems with violence. And so if that is the overlay that has been taught to the soul, then we see that play out all the time in America, unfortunately, and in other parts of the world. And that's why I think that it just highlights the point even more, that it's not our business to judge the soul, because we don't know what that soul is going through, and we don't know, like, at what point they're going to get into a situation where they're like, oh, everything that I just went through, I need to rethink, and maybe this isn't the way. Because we see that happen all the time too, with people who have gone and made terrible mistakes in their 20s and ended up in the criminal justice system. And then later, they say, like, when they're 30, 40, 50, they're like, I'm not the same person. I wish that I had been brought up in a different circumstance.
Right.
I wish, and Raheim here is confirming, like, it sets the person back 10 to 20 years before they realize that they need to work on some of these other spirituality concerns. Right?
When is the prefrontal cortex fully developed in humans? It's the time when insurance companies allow your insurance rates to drop,
Oh.
which is around 25 years old. I just heard a statistic today. According to this gentleman, for women it's 26 years of age, the average, and for men it's 27 years of age is the average. But that's one of and I've known the idea about the 25-year-old insurance change for years, and it was specifically that particular point.
Interesting. Interesting. Wild stuff.
So yeah,
Well,
later in life, that your mind goes, oh, I could do things different.
I can do things differently. Yeah. So it's just a good reminder for us not to judge the action, not the person. Judge
Right,
the action,
right.
not the person. And it's a good reminder to myself to always continue to have mercy for people who are in a place where they're able to say, I made mistakes. When I was younger, I was dumb and I did not know what I was doing. I did not have guidance. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so really, really cool, interesting conversation. I want to read one comment from Miss LJ. She says, what a beautiful lesson from Raheim, understanding that the lessons of the past provide wisdom and knowledge for those in future generations. And there's no age when it comes to learning. So I think that was in regards to him talking about elders and having loving space for our elders. We need them. So need to call my grandmother tomorrow. And one last comment here. Michelle says, I was surprised to hear about chromium isn't good for us. I'm a jewelry designer and I've noticed that metal has shown up recently on the market. Beware of chromium chains. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah.
I think they were talking about vitamins, though.
Vitamin. Vitamin.
It was about supplements, not about consuming the metal or using the metal for decoration or things like that. If that's the way I understand the comment.
Yeah, I think that's what he was getting at. I know that there's some types of chromium that are extremely, extremely deadly. Like there was, if you ever get a chance to watch the movie Erin Brockovich, it's all about chromium being in water and the water trying to say, oh no, it's just a vitamin.
Right.
Fine. It's like healthy. It's the healthy kind, but it was the deadly kind. So, interesting movie. Well, shall we move on to the next Trance with Francine?
Yes.
Segment number 2. Okay, so Francine is going to share with us on February 26, 1996. She's going to start off by talking about viruses, flu, and the HIV have enough consciousness to hide and fight back. All humans have some touch of mental illness, and so she's going to break down how that plays out. Why sometimes when the mind goes, the body gets healthier, and how having a garden, park, birds around, or even a sculpture can be helpful for certain types of healing.
Fun. All right, here we go.
Hi, Francine. You are, to paraphrase a great entertainer in this country, the workingest spirit on the planet.
In conjunction with the ongoing process of cell memory, I was going to give to some of this with the people yesterday, but I didn't get a chance, nor have I done it with you yet. I know that we have talked in great lengths about what the physiological body does in cell memory. But I think we also have to reiterate about what the symbiosis is with the mind, or let's, for our time now, call it the soul mind. We do know that everything that happens, of course, starts somewhere in the mind, so to speak, because that's what transfers. But remember when we also were very, very enamored with the fact that we had found out that your cells are actually thinking beings, which I know is somewhat strange to all of us to think, that they are also, as far as your autotomical system is concerned, every cell has a kind of a mind. We know that this is possible with the outbreak of the AIDS virus, for instance. The fact that it is crafty enough, this alien cell, to hide and fool, literally fool the cell in which it enters, and thereby, like a marching army, eradicate it. Which shows right there that there are thinking viruses also. It's a known fact now medically, although we've all known it before, that let's say someone has a flu and she has been taking antibiotics for it. That flu can jump to Gloria, and she can take antibiotics, and by that time the flu virus has become sophisticated enough to combat the antibiotic. That's why your antibiotics eventually will not be of any use, because it has been used and used and used and used. And unfortunately, most of you at the baby boomer age that were given ampicillin, penicillin for every single solitary thing you had, have built up such a resistance to it. That's why we're seeing all these strange strains of pneumonia and certain other viral infections that are impervious to any antibiotics. That's why doctors are not using them as indiscriminately as they used to. Because there's a difference between bacterial and viral, if you don't know, but there is. The mental aspect that you must fight is what also the morphic resonance that your mind, soul mind, has carried over with it, that causes tremendous disturbances within the mental processes. We can say this without any hesitation at all. There is no one on the planet living that is totally free of some kind of mental illness. It is part and parcel of coming into life. Not only are you bogged down with the physiological body, but you're also bogged down with the neuroses of what your outside stimuli is, coupled with the fact of what you have inherited from your genetics, plus the fact of what you've brought over from your behavioral overlays from past lives. It's a wonder that you're even making it day by day. So the rule here, or the accolade should be, the kudos should be, that you have survived most of this. What I do want to do is try to eliminate some of the mental distress that accompanies just living in the world, and getting rid of some of the sludge, as it were, that comes in from past life. That maybe you are so controlled, and the more sometimes controlled spiritually a person becomes, is they keep it away from their body, but keep it in their mind. It's also a known medical fact that in many cases of deep dementia or senility or Alzheimer's, the minute the mind goes, guess what happens? The body becomes healthier. That's why you have such a plethora of people living very healthily in old people's homes, but their minds are gone. And once the mind has been removed, or the thinking, let's say deductive and inductive reasoning mind, sometimes the body goes on automatic and becomes even better. Now, what is the correlation to this? Is that first of all, even though you can address the cells and wish them to be at the age that you would like them to be, for instance, at 25 or 13 or whatever you wish it to be, and bring that up, you must now say you want to go back to a lifetime, and you don't have to know when those lifetimes are, but go back to a lifetime in which your mind cell structure of your mind was operating in full, what we call happiness. You're not going to, if you say, when I was 6 years old, I was so happy, you're not going to have to worry that all of a sudden, if you go back to the age in which you were 6 years old, that you're not going to have your still thinking mind. But what you're going to do is you're going to clean out all of the stuff that you've accumulated that has made you ill in your mind. Or go back, say to your mind, I would like to go back to a time in some life in which I was just as astute, just as intellectual, but I was living more of, let's say, for the lack of the other semantics, a more primitive, simple life. Still with all of my intelligence, but not being thrown off by the mechanized world in which I live in. That doesn't mean you have to get a knife and go carve out your way in the jungle or something. But it just means that what that does then is bring up the cell memory of the mind in peace. Yes.
In December, I detoxed off of 5 designer drugs. And what I discovered is these drugs, each separately and together, were like, it was a losing battle. It was like trying to hit a moving target. The minute you introduce something different into your body can't right itself.
That's right.
Like I was breaking down with all of these things that were all working against each other.
Yes.
And going off of all of them, it's like connected my spirit with me.
That's right.
Plus being away from this valley.
Well, drugs, that's right. But this valley has a tendency, any congested area has a tendency to do that to you, unless you have a garden or someplace you can go that is or even a little porch or something you can go and watch birds and sky or something. Because if you don't, or even if you're enthralled with concrete and you can go to a statue and stand by it, whatever it might be that is for you that gives you peace. Whether it's washing your hair, taking a long shower, an herbal bath, whatever that may be, going back to that time in which you felt the most euphoric, whether you were in a dance with someone or when you felt at the optimum.
Glad we have that. I was like so into that. I'm like,
I know.
But it's a fun point that has been told to us in the past, and we're hearing more. I'm hearing more now of the need for the balance of, you got a lot of stress in your life. You need to balance that with non-stress activities or unstressing kind of things. And I'm like, oh, really?
Yes, really. Yes, really. Actually, if anyone is curious about this particular book, Sylvia Browne's Lessons for Life, she actually has some really good, she's written the whole book as being like a program of how to just kind of spruce up your life, according to Sylvia, which is cool. And there is, related to what we just talked about, she has a chapter on how to kind of deal with stress. And so her recommendation specifically is that if you notice that you are getting too much in a rut, your life is getting too much in a rut and you're afraid to break out, you quite literally need more variety. And that variety will start to naturally allow you to create more movement. So that could look like. So for her, she loved doing needlepoint, right? And apparently also stained glass. I didn't know that, but Reverend Ellen shared that with us in our last minister training class, which was neat. So it's just something to think about. What is something that you genuinely really, really love? And it could just be anything, just any sort of variety to help break up the rut. You notice
monotone monotony.
Really fixed on something, right?
Yeah.
With anxiety, that's what all our brain wants to do. Is like when you're anxious about something, all you want to do is just focus on that. So give yourself no more than 10 minutes to go through all of the catastrophizing that you want. Just like, okay, here's the thing that I'm anxious about. It's this, and this. Okay. And the worst case scenario hardly ever comes true. So here's my plan. And now I'm going to put it away and do something else, any sort of variety. Limit it, 10 minutes, then you're done.
Yeah. And then there's, if you want to think of think of a place to put that energy, if that's something that you'd like to do, the worry beads.
Yes, that's a great idea.
You think of each of the bead as for an area in your life, and you picture that energy going into that item, that bead, and then you put it in the sandbox, as it were, to help neutralize, if I remember the ritual properly. But I'm glad you brought the book up again. That's something I gotta go get my Kindle app opened up, because that would be a fun one to go through again.
Yeah, it's very, very readable, very easy read, and yeah, she has, so for each little chapter, she's got a couple of meditations, and she has an exercise where she has you like write down on one side of the paper what is something that you can reflect on from the past, and then what's something that you reflect on for the future. So it's just very, very approachable and down to earth, just like Sylvia, approachable and down to earth. So
cool.
Let's see here. Miss LJ shares, I sometimes think the overwhelming technology we encounter diminishes our ability to adhere to a more primitive way of life, for which I feel in the long run will be ultimate survival for us all. Yeah, that's a good point. We can certainly see it on a macro level, where the technology has gone so fast that we've left the earth, like taking care of the earth behind, and now this whole century is going to be, this mad rush of trying to balance it and go, wait a second, we have to take care of the earth. And then in our own daily lives, yeah, it's the technology has caused this fast-pacedness that doesn't allow us enough time to spend socializing or
being quiet.
Yes, allowing ourselves to settle down, because the nervous system does need that, needs some quiet time, needs some downtime. Sherry asks, hey Kat, can you please give us the mixture of the cream of tartar and baking soda that you drink? Yes, it is the first show of the month, so it's time for the worst drink on the planet, courtesy of Raheim, for cleansing, which he said to do once a month. So it is a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, just in a glass of water. You do not want like juice, just water. Do not have it with apple cider vinegar. Do not have it with OJ, just water. And bottoms up. And that was from a trance where people were asking about like radiation in our environment. So
cool.
It's vile. Just absolutely vile. But I'll do it right after this show. All right. You're welcome, Sherry. No problem. And Naomi shares made a comment about the cells, how Francine referred to them as alien cells. It's like kind of makes you think that, there's these foreign things that shouldn't be in our body, but Thankfully, we have a very complicated and robust immune system that can mount effective responses. But oh boy, sometimes it's a challenge for us. So anyhow, any other thoughts that you have about what we just listened to?
No, just I like the excuse me, the reminder of lessons for life. That's some fun tools to go and review.
Yeah,
and make use of.
absolutely. I was really surprised because I generally feel like I have my life kind of together, usually, and we had to read this for minister training, and I found it to be actually really, really thoughtful and very, very good and useful. So, if anyone is interested, it's a good read. All right, so let's move on to the last segment.
Sure.
All right, so we have engaging your senses to pull forward a healthier past memory. Thoughts on managing fears and anxieties. Many people are in prison in their own survival and asking to dream of a time when life was more joyful.
Fun. All right.
And many of those points that you can pick out that really sets the endomorphs into activation is pick a time in which you were in love. And it doesn't necessarily mean in love with another person, although it could be when you first held a baby, or when you first were embraced, or when you smelt your grandmother, your mother's talcum or cologne. Something that gave your olfactory, your sensory perceptions of everything. Then you're going to bring it more visually and into the senses. Yes?
Is this to aid the release of endorphins?
It's not only to aid the release of the endorphins, but to keep you into, let's say, an epiphany type of condition. You see, that's why so many of the monks, even though they seem to live such a sedentary life, not that I wish this for you, but they get to the point that they really reach almost a type of nirvana because they've closed out so many of the exterior
This is what
things.
chanting does.
Chanting does, meditation does. Sometimes it can even be pulling up a memory of having a wonderful evening with someone. But we're finding more and more of all of you, not all of you, but all the guys are reporting to council that people are thinking more and more negative thoughts. The fear is beginning to crowd in more. The apprehension about future is beginning to crowd in more. See, your forefathers were much more concerned about whether the corn comes up, plant the corn, whether it will rain, how many flowers do I have in my flower box, and will I get the wash done Monday? Now, that's very, very much quieter to the mind than the threat of annihilation, the threat of being deposed, the threat of infamy, the threat of conquering. Those are real fears that must be allayed. Let's say, strangely enough, that this would even occur, which it won't. But let's say, for sake of argument, that it would. What would it behoove you to worry all the way up until the point that it happened? And then when it did happen, all those years prior to, that you feared loss, that you feared destitution, were lost somewhere. And let's say that hypothetically that the end did come, which it won't in your lifetime, but you worried all the way up and the end came within a matter of a split second. What a waste that would be to worry through your life. Now we see people worrying about retirement or finances. And of course I don't want you to stop being concerned or putting nest eggs back, but I think you've got to get to the point in your mental morphic resonances that you must as childlike as you may think this seems, is to give it to God that you will be taken care of. Our Lord said it better than anyone. He said, observe the lilies of the field. And how beautifully they're adorned. Or the birds on the wings, so to speak. They are all provided for with their unbelievable instinctual trust. I think Sylvia made a very good point when she said most people, yesterday she said, are imprisoned. And they are in prison in their own survival. And if you look at the prisoners, what they do, they get 3 meals a day and they exist. And isn't that what most of you are doing? You get up in the morning and you have breakfast, let's say, or coffee or whatever you have. You go to work, you have lunch. You go to dinner, and then you go home. Are you not in a cell? Just because you drive a car, I bet you anything you drive the car down the same streets.
Yeah. You're worried if it'll make it.
Your survival is no more, and I'm not trying to be cruel, than animalistic survival at this point. The only difference that separates you from the animal is that you have the innovation to walk out and do something different. To believe in something different, to have something different to go along with that, to have ideals or goals. But to live a life in which you just get up and exist every day is a prison of a worse kind, because at least a prisoner knows why he's there or what the confines of his life are. And you don't, and yet you should look. And I bet you've almost gotten down to the point that you have to eat at a certain time. You have to usually go to sleep at a certain time, and the chances that you wake up at a certain time. I don't mean that, but in between all of that, the tiredness that sets in, and you know why the tiredness sets in? It's because in this life alone, the behavioral overlays begin to fasten down on you and create a tiredness and a boredom. God forbid you should do anything on a spur of the moment, like leave here and go to a movie, because it would put you home too late. And if it put you home too late, you wouldn't get enough sleep. But think about this, the enjoyment that maybe would give you for an hour and a half or whatever it might do, or go out and have a talk with somebody, rather than watching your watch, to find out if you didn't get enough sleep, would you be tired the next day? Probably not, because your endorphins would begin to operate. Do you remember, any of you, that when you were first in love, how you could get by on no sleep? Yeah. And you could get by on little food because the endorphins were so... And that's what it should be. And if it's nothing more, or it should be more, in the love of God that gives you this endorphin spiritually, you have to be separated from the, let's say, the morphic resonance of the animal. Because the animal does not fear death. The animal only knows that for the moment he will eat, and when he's tired he will sleep. And has no complications. The only time we see animals getting very phobic is when they're raised with people. And people make animals neurotic. And if you've ever noticed how much animals become like their owners, because the neurosis feeds right down to the pet. Now, all this is well and good, but to release yourself from this, break your mold once in a while. Not all the time, but break your mold. Do something fun, something different. Enter a class. So the very thing that you come to this class is innovative for you, because most people do not do this. So to learn, to read, to expand your mind, that is the highest of spirituality. To be aware of what's going on in your world around you now, that's quite frightening and quite interesting and quite fascinating and can be quite uplifting. To know that you're a little bit ahead of some of the ignorant masses that are running around. Even that alone should give you some kind of confidence. Now, with this morphic resonance of the mind, ask that your mind, like I said, go back in time and direct it. Even to be more specific, tell your mind that you would like to dream it out. That you would like to dream the dream that is a reality, almost like doing a regression on yourself, of a time when it was pleasant, of a time when you were, maybe had your children around you and life was simpler. And do things slower. I don't mean be late, but do things with more joy, or let's say the closeness of holding a pen, and what shape is the pen, and what is the feel of the paper. Be aware.
Getting into it, not just doing it, but getting into it. And I guess, being aware, being in the moment, being in the, when she talks about, being aware of the pen and holding it and how you, but that's also, sounds like a remote, resonates to me as to getting out of your head.
Yeah.
When you're engaging in awareness, you're not thinking, you're being. You're not thinking or doing, you're being. And that's at least that's what resonates, for me, the ideas for me.
Yes. Difference between cogitating and experiencing.
Yeah.
Experiencing. Just the full experience of your thoughts, feelings, and presence.
The funny thought about the how many of our pets become like us, and a great example of that is watching Dog Whisperer with season
Oh
1.
yeah, true.
Watch some of those now. Watch some of those episodes, and what are the dogs doing? It's and his big proponent is it's not about the dog, it's about retraining the owners. But that's our human nature. We're trying to make the dogs act like humans, and they're not human. And and same with Jackson Galaxy with his show My Cat from Hell. He's got some other online shows as well. Does some fun sharing of activities, but that's similar ideas. It's get the cat to be a cat, not not be like human. So some fun.
What do I do with this thing? Does this thing mean that I'm too relaxed? I mean, look at it.
Yeah, could be.
He's a great pet. But no, I that's interesting. I didn't know that also applied to cats more widely. But
yeah, I don't see them as watching many of the episodes. The cats aren't as what's the word? They don't follow human. Huh?
Maybe emotionally attuned.
Right. They don't. I mean, if humans are not adjusted properly or understanding, then cats have their what's considered bad behavior, but they don't have the same anxieties as we would see in dogs.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's just
my husband's cat. Now my husband has anxiety, like that's the thing that he works on. Yeah. But his cat, when we first, like for years, not until just I don't know, say maybe like a year and a half ago, his cat, whenever Jason would leave before I would, his cat would start crying and be very anxious at the door, and I'd have to call him. It's like, Java, come here, come to bed, come here. And then he'd curl up with me. He has actual separation anxiety. I've never heard of a cat that has separation anxiety. But
yeah, well,
Jason's my poor sweet husband. He does have a lot of anxiety. So we had a joke that was like, oh, he picked it from you.
And there are fun tools, fun behavior ways to help the cat with that, so that they don't get that anxiety.
Good.
There are things that you can do. So it's getting back to, being disciplined enough to find those steps, learn what those steps are that can help the cat learn.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Cool. Very, very cool. And I thought that it was interesting also from the last segment when Francine mentioned, like, described how we are in a prison of our own survival.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, you know, that's just another thing to kind of ponder on, and how we can reclaim some of our own personal power back from that to create more intentional joy in our lives.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ponder that some more.
Get out and go do something else. Jump out of your rut and
Get out of the rut. Have some variety.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Any fun comments before we jump into? Well, maybe I shouldn't be so segregative and say any fun comments. Any comments?
Sure, of course.
We could share before we get into meditation.
Absolutely. So Miss LJ shares, beautiful, beautiful message. Yes, believing that you will be taken care of, then you will be, and possibly even more. So the universe is there for us. And Naomi shares, use the 5 senses when crafting or walking or gardening. Yes. What am I smelling? Do I taste the flowers on the air? What do my feet feel like as they interact with gravity? So those are all really good ways to help us become more present. Now it's interesting because the art of mindfulness is like a meditation practice to become more present, and can be really super helpful for breaking through anxiety and trying and retraining our mind in certain really helpful ways. So if you're curious about how that relates to hypnosis, think of them as being on opposite sides of the same spectrum. So hypnosis is about separating yourself out from your senses, and mindfulness is about moving towards your senses. And so both can be very, very useful. And I think that it's great to be able to practice both.
And what what I see or perceive is your mind. What are we doing with our mind? It's helping us focus.
Yes, exactly.
They're both forms of
both of them.
Both forms of focus, and I've made that point today. That I've said it about yoga, but meditation is also it's concentrating on your breathing as well. So yoga is, and so is meditation, concentrating on your breathing, and it's a helpful tool to practice focus. And a fun point made today was when many people think, when they hear meditation, you're supposed to blank, your mind's supposed to go blank. Our minds don't go blank. However, when you do start some of these activities, yes, your mind does, you're quiet for a moment, you go, what about the laundry? And I'm got to make sure I have gas in the car. And it is recognizing those and saying, but wait a minute, let's go back to the breath. Allowing the thoughts. We're not going to scream, we're not going to yell. It's just, okay, I don't need to deal with that right now. Let's go back to the breath and the breathing, whether it's meditation or yoga, or as you're saying, mindfulness. Okay, I'm paying attention. I'm out in the gardening now. I need to pay attention to playing in the dirt, and that's going to help our mind focus on what we're doing instead of worrying about, did the laundry get finished, or do I need to, what do I need to be doing in the house? It's getting ourselves out. And now hypnosis, that's a guided form of, in hypnosis, when you're relaxed and you're out, as it were, you're just in a step beyond what meditation does. You are very focused. You're very concentrating on your feelings, thoughts, and ideas, and so just it's fun practice and helpful tools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did that answer the question?
I think it did. I think it did. Absolutely. Speaking of meditation,
yes, we are due.
Might it be time for a meditation?
Well, let's see. If we do this, and yep, we can do that. Okay, for those of you that want to participate in the meditation, we encourage you to sit with your feet flat on the floor and your palms upward on your lap to receive that wonderful meditative energy and rejuvenation. And for those of you that need to pay attention to what you're doing, don't pay attention to us, but by all means come back and listen to these wonderful meditations on demand. For those of us that want to enjoy this rejuvenation, here we go. Take a few deep breaths, and let's see. I'm trying to figure out which buttons I need to push to get us going, but here we go. Find a comfortable place to sit with your feet flat on the floor and your palms upward on your lap. Now, take 3 deep breaths to start relaxing the mind and the body. Now close your eyes when you are ready.
Festival of Lights. Become aware that your soul is now stretching, moving, expanding, and majestically magnifying the Lord. It reaches far out into the sky, and you can feel the air rushing by your face. The farther up you go into the ebony sky, the more aware you become of tiny stars all around. As you get closer, you see that they are not stars at all, but beautiful white-robed entities. Archetypes and past loved ones are coming towards you with lighted candles, and you are rushing to meet these hosts of heaven. You see these glorious entities and your guide standing there in gold, white, and purple robes. Their lit candles show their warm, welcoming, smiling faces. As you draw closer, you feel the protection of all the Gnostics and true Christians who have gone before. They pass to you all synergism of love, all loyalty, and everything tried and true. Above this, the Queen of Heaven appears, golden and shining. Her beautiful long hair is a glowing mantle on her head. Her purple cloaks blow in the breeze, and you feel yourself surrounded by the peace and tranquility of God. You offer what is in your heart, your thanksgiving, and even your sorrows. Bring them up, and with a wave of just one candle flame, it all passes. Today's hurts are tomorrow's forgivenesses. They all sink into a deep well, and you feel in your soul and heart and mind that your candle that has been lit by the Trinity. Carry that light out of here and pass it to everyone you meet. Give off the light of love and the richness of your true belief in a loving God and Goddess. Not the feared God, the loving, constant God smiles on all of us tonight.
Now, on the count of 3, come all the way back. 1, 2, 3. Fully and totally awake. That was... I had a panic attack at the very beginning.
Oh no! Why?
Her first word was, the first phrase was, um, Festival of Lights. I'm, that's a prayer! And I thought I selected the wrong thing, and then it took me a minute to realize, oh no, this is a meditation. Okay, let's anyway, so I trust that was fun and rejuvenating for everyone.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Cool. Now that we're back and mindfulness instead of having so much cortisol running through our system.
Yes.
If you have any questions about what we shared, feel free to post in chat or email us questions to kat@novus.org. That's KAT at novus.org, or Tom, TOM, at novus.org. Of course, we appreciate the listeners, both live and on demand. Show your appreciation for New Spirit Radio by sharing, promoting, liking, and subscribing. Somewhere down here, oh my God. Okay, never mind. It's like been so long, I can't remember why this seems so long what I'm talking about. Well, anyway, check out our websites. I know you've heard about all of those, our novus.org, sylviabrowne.com, and chrisrightnow.com. Facebook, yes, we do exist on Facebook, and yes, you should be listening to us, or could be listening to us on YouTube as well. We've got study groups, so if you want to donate and get something in return, start a study group. Let's see, we are posting new information because there's like a newsletter that goes out and a monthly CD of things you may not have heard yet. Let's see, church services. I just posted a church service on Sunday on Facebook and YouTube. It's a great classic from Sylvia. You know what? I've lost track. I think it is Larry and Sylvia was on there. If you want to participate in the special Zoom service, put your email on the website and you'll get an invitation from Reverend Ellen Schloss. So here's where I was looking for in all of this, the novena. This is our special prayer ceremony that encourages us and really, well, gets that energy out into the universe to say, hey, this is what needs some work on. How this works, if you're new to Novus and a New Spirit Radio, and it doesn't matter if you're listening to the recording or listening to us live, because there's no time on the other side, and we're just saying get that energy out there, and they'll know how to move forward. So we're gonna say this phrase together. While I say it, you say it along with me. And we're going to say it 3 times. And after that, I'll let you know what you want to be asking for. And we'll say the phrase 3 times again, and then I'll tell you what we want to be asking for. So we're going to do this 3 times. So visualize that we're all in a huge room together, and we're all holding hands, making this big, huge circle. And that we're all saying the novena together. So I'm going to take a breath here, and so let's get ourselves ready, and here we go. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Was that 3? I hope so. I lost track. Anyway, now, thank you. Ask for things for yourself. Okay. Next. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, ask for things for others. Okay, the last one. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, picture our lights going out like a beacon for others seeking this spiritual knowledge. Where? Wow, okay, we got, so let's see. I had to move this segment up to the beginning here. Is show your appreciation. What are you appreciative of? But you know what? We had so much fun with the what did you learn of Novus philosophy? But you know, think of for a moment what it is that you're appreciative of, and then show your appreciation to Francine and Raheim for researching all this wonderful knowledge, and of course Sylvia for coming to this insane asylum in the universe to start this movement, and for showing us how to get some peace of mind and grace while we're here. And of course Asna for helping us and protecting us while we're here, and Father God for providing the most prestigious school for us to experience, learn, and satisfy our unique spark of curiosity. Let's see, some fun thanks for Bob Engel for helping with some of the graphics and audio. Sammy and Javon for the wonderful intro-outro music that we're going to keep as it is, I guess I'm requested. For the show, writing, setup, and hosting is MIT Catherine Taylor. Editing, technical direction, and hosting is Reverend Tom Bigley. And now, I'm going to find a prayer by Sylvia. Let's see here. Where are we? Yep, I guess that would look pretty good. Cool. All right. And what are we? Prayer by Sylvia.
May I be a light in this world prayer. Dear Asna, surround me with your golden light and protect me with your sword as you are the companion of God. Surround me with the purple light of Christ, the white light of purity, God consciousness and the Holy Spirit. Let me feel the expansion of my soul, and regardless of where I come from and what I believe, I make witness to your light. Dear Lord, I make witness to my belief and my continued search for knowledge and truth. Dear God, let me love you enough. Let my love grow every single day and permeate every single cell of my body and soul, so that when I walk through darkness, the light falls off of me, springs from me, and touches all who comes near me. All the souls out there who are despairing, let me heal. All the people who are sick, let me minister to them. All the people who feel loveless, let me love. All the people who feel alienated, bring them to me. I ask to be a shepherd. I ask to be a minister to my faith and belief, and more important, my knowledge. As I stand before you, God, I ask to feel our Lord approaching with his arms outstretched, and in front of him is a red ruby-colored rose, which he hands to me. Let me hold it close to my breast and feel the color, the light, the spirit, and the grace that invades every part of me. Let it become so magnificent that it stretches out from my arms and my hands in a healing glory. I ask this, dear God, in the name of the Mother, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And Kat's going to tell us.
We love you so much, and we look forward to another exciting year being here together. Good night. We'll see you next week.
For so long we have ignored you, as if you were not there. All praise went to the Father. We were so unaware that through the years you've shed your tears for all the pain we bear. Asna, how we love you. Place no one above you. Always thinking of you. Bless your name. You are Mother God. You've planted every blade of grass, creator of the stars. And when I'm feeling down and out, you mend my broken heart. So now I sing this song of thanks because of who you are. Asna, how we love you. Place no one